A lovely good morning. It is yet another Tuesday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show, community edition, where we focus on matters happening in your communities. And you too, our dear viewers, later on the program, we will be opening up the phone line so that you can get in touch with us on the Camnet Breakfast Show. It is yet another positive Tuesday, and we are keeping it positive because we started on a Monday that was on a positive note, and we'll continue with that. Later on, I'll be joined by my positive lady, that's Aminiam Kaimba. And to just get started, let's go straight into our first segment, which is the Health Corner with the doctors. Keep it on Camnet TV.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Dr. Musole Chipoya. I'm an epidemiologist at the Zambia National Public Health Institute in the Surveillance and Disease Intelligence Cluster, focusing on vaccine-preventable diseases. I'm also a member of the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Today, we will continue with the very important topic of polio, which is also known as poliomyelitis. Today in particular, we'll be focusing on the clinical presentation as well as the pathophysiology, which is just how does this virus affect one's body after one has been infected with this virus. So like we said in our previous discussion, polio is a very highly infectious disease. It is highly transmissible from one person to another, and it is transmitted through a fecal-oral route. So one has to ingest the virus. They take it in or they drink with ingested food which is contaminated or water which is contaminated with this virus, and then it continues to multiply in the body and then affects the body. So we also talked about how exactly this virus, we can prevent one getting infected with this virus. The only prevention that is there is prevention by taking a vaccine, which is either the BOPV or IPV. In addition to that, we also want to note that infection with poliovirus, once one gets paralysis, that paralysis is lifelong and there is no cure for polio. So the main theme here is actually that we need to actually prevent by vaccination. So we'll get back into our current session where we're now discussing how exactly does this virus affect one's body. So when one gets infected with this virus, as we said earlier, it starts to multiply in the throat, it multiplies in the intestines as well, so that is our gut. And when that happens, it then moves from the intestines to the blood system and eventually to the central nervous system, which is mostly affected by this virus. When this happens, it causes interruption in transmission of neurons in the body, which are also called messages from the brain to the parts of our body, different muscles in the body. So when that transmission is severed, when that transmission is stopped because the virus has actually affected a certain part of a certain neuron of your body, then you will not be able to move that part of your body. So meaning you have paralysis in the affected part of the body. So this may be in the arm, this may be in the leg, and it usually affects one part of the body. So usually you find it's either one leg but not both, one arm but not both. So the side that is affected is where you have the paralysis. And when this paralysis sets in, you find that that part of the body starts to become atrophic, meaning it starts to shrink and to shrivel because it is not being used. So that is how it affects some people that may be infected with this virus. But through, like we had said earlier, this virus is multiplying in the throat as well as in the intestine. It also gives other symptoms which may be mild in certain people. So you have symptoms such as flu-like symptoms, you have a sore throat, you have a fever, you may have nausea as well as stomach ache from the multiplication that is happening of this virus in the gut. So what proportions of people are affected? So let's say 100 people are infected with the poliovirus. Of these 100 people, you find that 70 of them are actually going to be asymptomatic, meaning they are infected with that virus and they're able to infect other people, but there are no, you cannot see anything in terms of signs and symptoms. They are moving about just as everybody else is. They are very normal. Then you have the 30% or 29%. That 29% will present with very mild symptoms. Those are the symptoms we spoke about, which are more flu-like symptoms. You have headache, fever, joint pains or body aches, and you have abdominal pains, the nausea and vomiting that we spoke about. So these are very transient, and you find that within a period of 2 days to a week that these symptoms will all have cleared. Then you have the 1%. This is the unfortunate 1% that gets the paralytic disease, the ones that will have a lifelong paralysis as a result of infection with poliovirus. So for those that are affected, like we said, you have one part of the limb which will present with what is called acute flaccid paralysis. What we'll be looking for in cases with acute flaccid paralysis is any limb of the body which is floppy. So we spoke about very big things about acute flaccid paralysis. But to a layman, what are we saying? Or just to every individual, how do we understand what acute flaccid paralysis is? So we're saying this is the sudden onset of weakness in any part of the body. So this may be your hand, your arm, or your leg. So when this happens, what we're looking for is a floppy type of paralysis, meaning you have no control of that. You have no control of that limb. It just drops. It's like when we talk about it, we'll say a door-like movement. You see how teddy bears or dolls have no control of movement. That's the type of floppiness or paralysis that we'll see in those that are affected with this type of paralysis. So that is the clinical presentation of most of our cases. We have the 70% who are asymptomatic, the 30% who will be with transient symptoms which are very mild, and then we have the 1% which will present with paralysis. That is it for today. We'll continue with our discussion tomorrow. My name is Dr. Musole Chipoya, a member of the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Please join us and keep watching Camnet TV. Thank you.
Quite interesting. I hope you did learn one or two things there. We did see the vaccination of polio running from the 31st of August to the 3rd of September 2023. Quite important to ensure that you get your children vaccinated, and always ensure that every time you practice good hygiene, like we heard from the doctors there. We had this topic even yesterday where the doctors was just giving us, certain tips on how we can prevent polio. That was a quite interesting topic there, Patrick Soko, looking at, find a lot of children, being affected with this kind of disease at the end of the day. But anyway, yes. Moving forward, let's just get direct into our money market. So we have the United States dollar, they are buying at 20 kwacha 2 tungwe and selling at 20 kwacha 6 tungwe. We have the Great British Pound, they are buying at 25 kwacha 55 ngwe and selling at 26 kwacha 05 ngwe. We have the Euro, they are buying at 21 kwacha 84 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 27 ngwe. We have the South African Rand, they are buying at 1 kwacha 06 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 08 ngwe. The dollar on the selling part, things are not moving well. We are going toward 21. This reminds me of, early 2022, we saw the dollar going toward 21, 22, then it, eventually dropped. But at the rate at which we are moving, I don't know, I'm getting worried. But I want to maintain my positivity anyway.
I know that sometimes it's not easy to maintain positivity under such circumstances. But I want to be. I won't give you a chance to be just fine. I won't be giving you that chance to just fine. And thank you that I've been given the floor because looking at the way things are. Miriam, I can testify to you that even if we're trying to keep your positivity, it's not easy. I can guarantee you that. Because if you see how the kwacha is performing, you're going back to the old bad days where it was trading even as high as 23 or 22, between 22 and 23, when it was fluctuating around that mark. And that is not conducive for us. And if you are going to say any positive things about that, well, probably the positive thing you can do about that is how you adjust about in terms of how changing your lifestyle. Yes, you can still manage to gain some positivity there, Miriam. I can agree with you on that aspect, but it's not easy to keep your cool, especially when the kwacha is performing like that. So that is just a reflection of how the economy is performing. The performance is not faring as it should be.
Anyway, we'll still keep the positivity, Soko. Just a reminder to our viewers that we have now officially opened our phone lines, and later on in studio we'll be joined by someone from the Safety for People on the Move, where we're going to be looking at improving the road safety. You do remember, Patrick, that over the weekend we did record, a very tragic road accident where we lost about 32 people. A very quite sad situation there. But so we are going to be joined by, someone from the Safety for People on the Move, so that, they can help us discuss various issues on how, people can maintain the safety on the road and ensure, we avoid this thing of speeding. Because it has been one of the major causes. Exactly. But anyway, right about now, let's just get direct into some of the stories that made headlines yesterday in our main news. One of the stories is in relation to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. In July 2023, Mongo Council swing into action, demolishing mobile booth and makeshift in the central business town of Mongo. The eviction exercise was carried out on Sunday night with the help of law enforcement agencies in the district. Properties belonging to business personnel worth thousands of kwacha along Mongo, Senanga Road, Kashuba Market and other places were reduced to scrap metals. Let's get to look at that story.
Mungso traders were on the dawn and mask of Monday greeted with horror and shock as their legal designated and paid for mobile booths were destroyed by the Mongo Municipal Council law enforcement team. The demolition exercise came to effect barely a month ago after the Ministry of Local Government issued a directive to abolish street vending. Speaking to Camnet News, acting Mongo Mayor Suze Onguni confirmed the development and stated that warn letters and stakeholders meetings were held to advise business traders to relocate to designated market shelters.
Before that, their booths have been destroyed, but we did sensitization, we wrote to them, we engaged them on various platforms. In the first place, you can know and hear, and you even as everyone knows that there was a ministerial direction to say the provincial capital they have to stop in terms of vending, stop this way. That we have places where we want to at least mount these both, because the way they were mounted was not enough. I just want to engage each and everyone to say, much as we are sympathizing with you, try by all means to visit our offices for more clarity so that we give you where you can mount.
Meanwhile, affected traders lament that their mobile booths and makeshift stores are legal because the local authority allocates space and correct trading levies, hence calling for full compensation.
Ano balusinyeliza eri kazaluna mabuthi sinachwana mumu abonera baba muma business abona bashimbezi like nakakasibiri bashimbeli ma 50 kg ama 4 rice aluzinji bayisize kai ni mapotato masaka ama 15 kono but kuna mabuthezi ama mwabasiyile chwale lukabati atilupile chwani luna kafano luna ma industry aluna misevezi olukona kweza kuti balweze employee onavava for pieces abamu ngena kasibiri una bana baluna kuva volo bachiseza wanafala chwale basinyizeze mubashimbi
fota ne lufotela fani bando na zeze balusirise fateni koloka chenu ape bamubuso luchinchizeo lwakomokisa lunani masikolo alukoni kupila fela mwafusi education balweze compensate kwa likalulo zeze mwizinizona baba
mumichidandaula wai nkwanka kusankana kidandola mabusa amena sala abilija zamuteo na airteo uja zamuteo ja ni kansela uyu wa chencho wa airtel ni chani chini ati ndani uyu ati ni tenu kapani lawyer kapani ndani manja sala branji eva sevenza isa sevenza
ndio kuona kwa sababu kuliko na kisiwa kasi ifi we checho anane la urufateni kwa vantu eza alile lakini toendi ape kulukale ukena mama bao na ngelo unabasa ngalo ukena mama bao utele mwate bana alukoni unaluprise pina kwa na chona ngelo lex ngelo dabana bao ni bana balindia ni bana balikezeliza lona nilikuwa chance kanyalo.
Musebo Kavira reporting for Camnet News in Mungu, Western Province.
A very quiet, sad situation there. But anyway, people have to understand that this is following a directive from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development in July 2023. We did also see some mobile booths, being demolished here in Lusaka in the CBD, and now the exercise has also been moved to Mongo district, where now people are complaining and just airing out their frustration about the move or action rather taken by the local authorities there.
Is there no other way where they can be told to remove their booths voluntarily? Because I think there is quite a lot of money they spend to just put up those facilities. Isn't it a better way to tell them, say, can you remove? Are they people defiant, maybe?
Maybe that can be the case. And one thing also, Patrick, you have to note is that most of the time such exercises are done, you find that they're only done at night, because the local authority is aware that, when we carry out this exercise during the day, we're going to have people protesting. We're going to be having running battles with these people. So one thing that local authority should also understand is how often do they engage these people when they're carrying out such exercise. Yes, quite all right on their part, they would want to come up with the defense of saying, we did engage these people, however, they did not adhere to the directive. But how often did you engage them? For how long? How long was the message communicated to them? You can't tell me that, no, we told them a day before that we're going to. You have to tell them in advance. Yes, I know it's illegal, but again, we are talking about, people surviving amidst the high cost of living. So there are certain ways that we need to carry out certain things.
Indeed. Yeah. There also had another interesting story where tempers flared as local leaders in Chongwe district engaged the senior mine management for neglecting its corporate social responsibility to the host community. So let's have a look at this story where people were expressing concern over the devastating effects the mine is having to the community in general.
They cry for their lives after realizing that they have been drinking water contaminated by chemicals discharged from Sino mine in Chongwe district. These are residents of Kasisi, Kasenga and Chinkuli ward who have been drinking contaminated water from the said mine. This water is not only consumed by hundreds of families together with their animals, but also used to water vegetables which are supplied to markets as far as Lusaka.
Amubone bumi mbotu chitepano bana tulabalishira mwenko mu moto balishira life yonse twachana mwenko mu onazo kulisha bana mwenko njo garden mbobumi bwo mbotu chitono bana tutobalishira kuli mansha chita affected yonse vironda nanga marwachi shingo tuletera so twapenga tabaleza tutochita byani bana jua
yonse kwana msamu wengi kwabulia tozeka kwa president saba boneko twapenga so manduna ko
maboho kai batonongera kudala manzi aya bazatipaisira bana ma future yaonongeka so hapa ntima promukira mu garden tikalima ma garden tapereka ko kusoweto then sibana ononge iseteka kuno kufamu ndiyo timapereka ku masoweto bapezeka abantu bamne bakudya ni bambiri so ni bambiri baonongeka baononga ma future yabantu bambiri.
After several concerns from residents, local leaders engaged the management of Sino mine. The meeting was characterized by tempers after management tried to deny allegations made by residents through their leaders.
Which I know that truth you are talking about won't be done. Let's go to the site now and prove to you that this water is coming from this side, it's going to the thing. You want to stop it, and to stop that water until you broke the order.
We are telling the president, yes, Mr. H.H. I am the headman Mutami, I'm saying that, yes, please, my president, can you come and send some right people to come and investigate? Because if you are sending some people to come and just come in the office, you give them drink of water, coffee, then they said everything is fine. They need to go to the dam. They need to go, if it's Zema, they need to go to the dam, to go and check that dam.
Now, how many people are going to die next time?
Yes.
And you are there comfortable eating, people are suffering. Zambians. You are also a Zambian.
Why I'm saying in weeks time?
In weeks time, people are dying. People are dying. Do it as soon as possible. As soon as possible. We are crying. We are Zambians. We are headmen and women here. We are keeping people who are suffering. The animals are dying.
To prove the allegations, these leaders demanded that they visit the dams that were reported to be affected, and here a decision was made.
Safety and in terms of adherence to ZEMA conditions, which they give them the license to start the mining. At no point does ZEMA allow the spirit from the dam to go into the rivers. But here there is a spirit from the dam into the river, which is a very critical violation of the ZEMA laws.
We are going to sit down with the top management, the Chinese. Then we are going to come up with a day where we are going to sit down with the community leaders and the representatives and all the councillors so that we can iron out and so that we can come up with the solution.
They have since appealed to the Zambia Environment Management Agency, ZEMA, and Water Resources Management Authority, WAMA, to move in and inspect the operations of this mine. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Chongwe District.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on the Camnet Breakfast Show. And we were looking at some of the stories that are making the headlines, and that's one story where it was done in Chongwe district there. Issues pertaining to safety, especially of the water bodies in the wake of mining activities. It is no wonder, Miriam Kemba, they do advise that mining in protected areas should not be allowed, because you see now what we are seeing, that is the contamination of water, now that water is contaminated and they use it to water the vegetables, and you and I are buying vegetables here at Soweto Market, and now when we are eating this step, no wonder it does not taste as should it should be. These things
you
are
understand that it's a chain. You know, they use contaminated water to water their vegetables. They sell that vegetable to Soweto. You buy, I buy. It's a chain.
You see, no wonder I've been wondering, some things, the way they taste, that's not the way they used to taste back in the days. But if we are not putting measures in place to ensure food safety, I think these issues will continue to be happening in the country. So we need to make sure that we mitigate such activities, because at the end of the day, we have to protect lives. We cannot, life is sacred. When we can't be allowing it to be losing people through unknown illnesses because of the contamination of water bodies, and that's something we need to pay attention to. We have seen, for example, how the contamination of water bodies and the ground in areas, for example, in Kabwe, where we had lead mining. We see that lead poison is still affecting the people in that community. You see, children are still being born with defective. So now, these are things, if we don't pay attention to Chongwe, they will escalate to levels that may not be reversed. So while it is still manageable, I think we need to do something, and something urgently. So sometimes we have to make sure that these investors, as they mine, they have to make sure that they do not endanger the lives of the people, because what came first of all? Was it the people or the mine that? So because for me, I think the mine found people there. So how do you go and destroy the lives of the people you are supposed to protect?
And I think it's just about the need for relevant authorities to do routine checks, routine inspections. Because if we're going to let them just like that without doing the regular routine inspection, we're going to have such issues later on.
You are right. I cannot agree with you more. What other stories do we have?
Anyway, before we usher in our guest, where we are going to be looking at improving the road safety, and our guest in studio shortly will be joined by someone from the Safety for People on the Move President, Madam Chifwesa Kaoma, who is going to help us to discuss our topic. But anyway, before we usher our guest in studio this morning, let's get to look at a story where government has announced that it has come up with interventions to caution the effects of high cost of fuel. Minister of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tao Kawana told the media briefing that government is aware of the many challenges that the high cost of fuel come with. Let's get to look at that story.
The recently announced increase in the pump price of fuel by the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, which was influenced mainly by volatility in the exchange rate, government has announced that it has come up with interventions to cushion the effects of the high cost of fuel. He says government will soon put up a 24-inch pipeline from Dar es Salaam to Ndola with a capacity of carrying 4 million metric liters of diesel per annum, among other interventions.
In order for us to achieve stability in the price of diesel is to ensure that we have it brought into the country using the pipeline at 100%. We are standing at 80%. Now, the way forward is that in order for us to get to 100%, we need to have a situation where the pipeline is able to increase the volume of the diesel or the finished product being brought into the country. To do that, as you know, as the fuel is being pumped from Dar es Salaam to Ndola, there is that volatility in the pipes. Now, there is a chemical. Government, through the Ministry of Energy, is looking at 3 different companies.
Mr. Kawana also says a Minister of Energy is seeking approval from Cabinet for plans to start ethanol blending, which, if approved, will run as a pilot project in Lusaka for 6 months, and if successful, will be rolled out countrywide. He says this will reduce the cost of fuel, as blended fuel is cheaper. He says this is expected to start by October of 2023.
The Minister of Energy has also prepared a CAB memo seeking approval in principle from Cabinet to commence ethanol blending. Once approved, the blended fuel shall run as pilot in Lusaka for a period of 6 months, and if successful, it will be rolled out countrywide. This will give motorists a cheaper fuel as blended fuel sells cheaper than unblended fuel.
And Mr. Kawana has said government is working tirelessly to address the escalating price of mealie meal.
It's easy for people to state that government should wake up and set the price of mealie meal and make it cheaper. It's easier said. But the bottom line is that we all need to work at it. We need to put in our hard work in order for us to achieve it. We must understand why we are here. We are here basically because of two things or two fundamentals. Number one, climatic problems. Changes in the weather, in the climate, are putting pressure on us. How? Countries up east, Tanzania, Kenya, and so on, Malawi. East there's heavy droughts, no rains, they can't produce food.
Last week, the Energy Regulation Board (ERB) increased the pump price of petrol and diesel by an average of 3/4 68 ngwe. This means that a litre of petrol will now cost 29/4 42 ngwe, up from 25/4 55 ngwe, up by 3/4 85 ngwe, while diesel has gone up by 3/4 52 ngwe and will cost 26/4 88 ngwe, up from 23/4 36 ngwe. Several stakeholders received the increase with mixed feelings, with some blaming the government. Reporting for Camnet TV News, my name is Marco Kwakozi in Lusaka.
Kuyenda tikali kugwira ntchito kabunga tiziba uti kabunga tifuna tisebenzerepo kabunga. What was happening was that the price of maize was so low, a lot of farmers stopped growing maize. Banaenda kusoya beans because mutengo wa chimanga unali pansi maningi. Banali upanga malosses. Ife tifuna uti tipase ma farmers mutengo wa bwino 280 kuchoka pa 180. Then muzaona bantu bambiri naine osunga ng'ombe uno mwaka nienda mu mataba nilima manje naine nilima. One Zambia, one nation. Mutengo wa chimanga wamilisi ukankala bwino bantu bazamba kulima kuchoka mu soybeans kuyenda mu chimanga. Chimanga zizapaka. Chimanga chikapaka mutengo wabunga ubwira pansi bwino bwino. One Zambia, manje tikalibe kulima tiona bantu bali kuchita simago. So manje tavala stifuna chimanga chatu kuyenda mu maiko enango tibana babantu bazidya bana banga bazikola nanjala matabani wakuno manje kulibe kutenga ku bantu bali panje. Zambia so baja bali kuchita smuggling ni kabantu mu maborders manje kuti chimanga chili muiko muziko muno bantu batu badye bunga bunkale fair price as we wait for time to grow maize and grow a lot of it. Ndiye nzeru hizo.
Quite interesting views there. We now transition into our main interview, and in studio we're joined by the President for Safety for People on the Move, Madam Chifwesa Kauma. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're glad to have you on set this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Before we begin our topic where we are looking at improving road safety, to begin with, what is Safety for People on the Move all about? Just tell us a bit about your organization.
Thank you very much. Safety for People on the Move is a non-governmental organization, and we are legally registered here in Zambia, of course under the NGO Act number 16 of 2023. And our main objectives are to campaign for a cleaner and sustainable transport in Zambia, and also a mass awareness, road safety awareness, especially for the traveling public.
Exactly. We do realize that recently we did see about 32 people, die in a very, very terrible road accident. As an organization, what first of all led you into, creating, coming up with this safety for people on the move organization in the first place?
Thank you very much. Almost everyone has lost their loved one, from road traffic accidents, and it's a very unfortunate situation. We keep losing loved ones every day. Whenever a human being dies, there's always pain. Okay, so I lost a cousin. She's more like my sister. In Africa, we don't have cousins.
Yes.
Yeah, she was a sister, and she died when she was, that was in 1994, she was hit by a car just outside her school. And from that moment, I have lived that kind of pain, and I thought, what can I do to help people, or what can I do just to contribute to my country so that we can see lesser of this death. So I said, okay, I can do more when it comes to awareness. We go out there flat out and campaign, teach people on how to behave on the roads. So we came up with safety for people on the move. And I don't know if you're aware that I'm also doing sensitization on 5FM radio. Yeah, so I did this NGO is just a follow-up of the works that we've been doing in the past. But we just got legally registered this year in July.
Okay. Before, just on the sensitization part, before we move on that part, how often do you do your sensitization, and do you go in the communities, or you just appear on various platforms?
Yes, for now we are making use of social media handles and also 5FM platform. Yes, but we would love to do more. We would love to do more. If you give us space here at Camnet TV, we'll definitely come. So we are also employing media houses to be more sensitive to this issue. Look, you just mentioned, I know we are not yet there, but you mentioned we just lost 32 lives.
32.
This is a disaster, and most media houses are quiet. This is headline news. This should be all, 35 people dead. People are drinking coffee. I'm finding it a bit strange. This to me is a disaster, and so sad. We are a country, I thought everything is going to come to a standstill. I even thought maybe if the president has somewhere to go, he'll definitely say, no, guys, I'm not going. This is an emergency. I have to stay home and sort things out. Anyway, this is just how I felt, because losing just one person for me is, I don't know. It's so sad.
Now, coming to that accident that we saw over the weekend, we, like you said in your preamble, we continue to see more of such accidents. And how, as an association, have you observed some of the things that are leading to us to be recording such accidents? Because if you look at the recent incident, it shows that there was also an aspect of utilizing improper mode of transportation, especially for that number of people. But it's just that they were unfortunate. And if you look at that, we do see the same tendencies, especially during funerals, where people get into these lorries. They're going for funerals, overcrowded. If the unfortunate has to happen, more lives would equally be lost. But how, learning from what has happened in one, how can we try, what are some of the attributing factors, and how can we try to mitigate that going forward as a country?
Thank you very much, Patrick. We as a country are so, we are taking things so easy. I mean, for lack of a better term, we are just ignoring things that are killing people, So coming to that accident, may the souls of the 32 people who died in that accident rest in peace, and we wish the about 22 who are injured a quick recovery. So coming to your question now, Patrick, that if we closely analyze that accident, yes, a wrong mode of transport was used. Okay, a wrong mode of transport was used, which is by law it's against the law to transport, to use a goods vehicle to transport passengers. It's very much against the law. So we are breaking the law with impunity and killing people. And everyone is okay with that. Number one, that is a rural area. Obviously, there are hardships. That's why I issued a statement. I don't know if you came across it. In my statement yesterday, I urged the government to take note of the rural hardships and take them seriously, because obviously we are going to tell people don't use goods transport to transport people, but then they have no alternative. You see, so these are the challenges that we're saying. Look, this road safety issue cannot be fought by just us advocates. We have to come together, multi-sectoral kind of approach, so that everyone is involved: the government, the law enforcers, us advocates, and the people themselves. You see, it is up to you as a human being to accept to be loaded in that kind of situation. 61 people in a lorry. We are not here to point fingers and to put blame on the government or on the people themselves, but we know there are challenges, especially in the rural areas. Most public service transport providers shun the rural areas because of the bad roads. So this is why we are telling government, please come in and sort out the issue, so that the people will have an alternative. Because we'll keep preaching to them to say, use correct mode of transport, but there is no alternative. You see? So we are just urging the government to come through, especially when people are facing such challenges, and there is no excuse, like for people in the urban areas. I've seen a lot of people here in Lusaka, they have now opted to be using canters, light trucks, especially the Kabanana route. I have observed that. And also when people are knocking off in the evenings, they also, the ZDRA area, they also opt to use the light trucks. But it is dangerous. You know, you don't need someone to come and save the life for you. You have the option. You've got to say, okay, I can save a 5 kwacha, but am I saving a life? You know, people should ask themselves such questions.
Talking about road safety. Road safety is quite a huge undertaking, in that there are various aspects, Chichi. Let's look at the quality of our roads. To what extent are the roads contributing to these issues pertaining? Because we see roads with potholes, poor markings of the roads. So how do those things also add to these accidents we are recording? Because if you see the issue of accidents, like we are saying, probably the media hasn't been paying much attention to it, but they happen, especially over the weekend. A weekend cannot go without us recording a road traffic accident. So now, do roads also contribute to that problem?
Definitely. You know, you are using the road and there is no adequate furniture on that road. I've seen a lot of humps that are not marked. I've seen a lot of potholes that have been lying around and they are not attended to. So all these issues, like I said, this issue, this approach we have to take as a country has to be multi-sectoral. Everybody has to be involved. It starts with us. Oh, look, I'll come here, educate the public. Don't do this, don't do this. But then, what is the LCC doing? LCC also has the responsibility to the Lusaka City Council and many other city councils or town councils in this country. You know, everybody should just do their part. When I talk about LCC, for example, of late you've seen a lot of congestion in the city. Lusaka City is so much congested, you can't do any proper business, especially in the CBD. And we've been offering this solution, a very simple solution, to say all trucks or all motorists that have no business in Lusaka, there are these filter ring roads. When you're entering Lusaka from the south, just by Linda roundabout, there's a road that goes through Makeni up to and coming out at the Spinalong roundabout there. That is a filter. But people don't know. If you're coming from Livingstone now, even if you're a Zambian citizen, we have so many people coming in the country, maybe the foreigners won't know. You too won't know if you're from another town. Lusaka City Council can just put a simple billboard to say, this is a bypass. If you have no business in Lusaka, please bypass Lusaka. There's so many filter lanes. There's so many filter roads. You can also filter if you don't have to go into town. you can filter through Ngwerere Road. But all these things, just a simple billboard, you know, so simple. How much does a billboard cost, Patrick? How much does a billboard cost? Everything is just, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I can call it laziness, but I'll be too, that'll be too not nice, but I have to call it that. What does it cost for a city council to just come and put up a billboard? How much does it cost for a city council to paint a hump? Okay? A hump, just paint, do your part. People should just do their work. Enforcement. If we record so many accidents on the highways, but then you sit and wonder, okay, so this truck even passed through a roadblock, and then what happened? If you are carrying 61 people and go through a roadblock on a truck, what is that telling you, Patrick?
Do you think there has been little action and more talks when we're talking about improving the road safety, looking at some of the things that you have jotted out?
Yes, there's just so much talk. Whenever an accident happens, that's when everyone wakes up and go to the radio station, TV stations, like I'm doing now, and we make noise, and then after a few weeks, it all goes quiet, and then another tragedy strikes, then we go back again. So it's just like a circle, and nothing is being done. So may we all start the action. I'm challenging everyone out there to now be more action-oriented. Let's stop talking. Let's stop the politics. The politics I would love to see is arguing about what can we do to improve the road safety. How can we stop the deaths in this country? These are the kind of debates we should be having on the national TVs. Call us, call me, and call Mr. Mwamba. Come, let us argue here. You media houses, us media houses, I'm also from a media background. It is all politics. Politics. People are dying. One day, you should organize a debate. You, players in the sector, bring Rata, bring me, bring Mr. Mwamba, ZRST. Those are the things we need to be talking about. 32 people dead. I'll start with the media. Challenge. What are they doing about it? What is the media doing about it? Thank you so much, Camnet TV. You took this initiative. You did something. Okay. But what about the other media houses? This is 32 people dying. This is not a joke.
Could it be probably a situation where you actors in the who are supposed to spearhead the agenda, being not very much available, for lack of a better term, probably you are not as vibrant as
aggressive as the situation needs to be.
Because sometimes you see what I observe is that we have seen other sectors. Let's say when we talk about HIV, the civil society movement will be there talking about it. We were talking about, for example, malaria. They were talking about malaria. There were those organizations that are formed to spearhead that agenda. We used to see the proactivity of the Zambia Road Safety Trust those days. Ratsa itself undertaking press conferences. But for example, the entire this year they have not called any press conference to discuss about matters of this nature. Don't you think that they're also contributing to the media shifting their attention to other issues that are equally pressing for their attention?
I don't think that's true. When you say they're not active, they're actually very, very active. We have the Zambia Road Safety Trust, we have PAPECA, Pedestrians and Cyclists Association, we have...
when have they hosted a press conference? Or invite the media for their meetings, or talk about... Because if as far as I'm concerned,
of course not calling a press conference, but they do have media releases. They do appear on radio stations. They're active on their social media handles.
So probably.
So all I'm trying to say is I would love the media to do more. Okay, I would love the media to do more. The attention that we gave to COVID-19. You just mentioned HIV and AIDS. Everywhere you go. Even you remember COVID-19, when someone is ending the news, they would always say, please mask up. Please, when someone is ending their shows, I'm talking about the media now, they would always end by saying, please mask up,
please social distance, please do this. So I would love the attention that we give all the disasters.
I mentioned an interesting
aspect.
Madam Chifuesa, I mentioned an interesting aspect of that. Those organizations you are mentioning, they take interest, for example, to build the capacity. You know, there is also what we call changes in the media industry. For example, the journalists who might have been working 5 years ago have moved on, probably the other. So talking about capacity also, you look at capacity building. The journalists are also competent to be able to take up these issues and everything, or take an interest. So you see, when you mentioned an interesting aspect of COVID-19 pandemic, we saw people coming on board, also training the journalists to understand this animal COVID, and then the journalists start breaking down the jargons. Now, you also mentioned, and as we said, everyone else was mentioned because they were made to appreciate to the extent at which this problem is. So a journalist like maybe probably Miriam Kaimba may be aware that I think I need Madam Chifuesa to talk about this accident, or I think we need to do something about accident. But another journalist, maybe they are coming. You know, there's these changes in the industry. They may not be have the right information and what are some of the consequences these accidents are bringing. So I wanted to just understand, to say how coordinated is this sector in terms of the road safety. As non-state actors, how hard are you pressing on these institutions like the Lusaka City Council, the road safety and RATSA itself, the Zambia Police, to implement their mandate? Because if based on the preamble you have explained, largely it's also about how their inadequacies in implementing their mandate. We spoke about these issues. So how can we make sure that collectively the civil society movement and the media coordinate to make sure that probably there is enough awareness and enough understanding and enough action towards addressing this vice?
Oh, thank you very much, Patrick. Very, very good question. I'll tell you one thing. The number of NGOs that are fighting HIV right now versus the number of NGOs that are fighting road traffic accidents, you cannot compare the two. Fine, I agree that the NGOs are not so many. Obviously, there are challenges. You know, I would love my organization today to go for a workshop and bring you, Patrick and Madame here, train you, talk about these issues. But obviously, you know, the challenges, we have challenges, you know, the challenges. We need money for that. We need capacity for that. But
so as you respond, I want you to add, you mentioned an interesting aspect of financing.
Of course.
Then you see the COVID-19 was highly financed, both by the government and external partners, and also the corporate community.
Thank you.
But when it comes to road safety, are you seeing people coming on board?
Yes, we are seeing a lot of partners. My organization has got a lot of support, but you know, this is a huge task. This is a huge task. For me to do mass awareness, obviously we need airtime. And thank you once again, Camnet, for giving me this platform. And I'm employing other media houses to do more. So we need airtime to come and talk to the masses. Like right now I'm talking to the masses. One or two people will pick something positive from this interview, and maybe it might impact somewhere and save a life. So, yes, you are very right. The financial aspect, the way the funding, obviously, very few NGOs in this sector are even funded by government. Very few, if there are any. But then the corporate world, some players in the corporate world are also very supportive. Let me say, I wouldn't complain on that one. We are seeing people, they're now realizing that, okay, this is very important. This is very, very important, and they are coming on board. And we hope more can do that and come on board, because like you said, it is a challenge. The media needs to be trained to talk more about this. We need to partner more with the media. I'm a media person, so I know the power of media. You see, I know the power of media.
So as we wind up our conversation, what would be your message as the take home for our viewers this morning?
Safety first. I know we have challenges. I know Bambidi to the bend, Alamazama transport, Tivutika, but please take care. Make sure that you are at least seated inside, you know, There's so many, I can say so much, but all I can say is, as a country, let's take this thing very, very seriously. Let's come, we work together, and to my other NGOs, let us not relent. My partner NGOs, the players in this field, let us not relent. Let us continue working together and ensure that at least we do not have any deaths or injuries on our roads.
Well, this is where we have to wrap it up for our interview of the day. We had in studio Safety for People on the Move President Chifuesa Kaoma helping us to discuss various issues bordering on safety and talking about an important aspect of road safety. Talking about road safety, Zambia has not been spared when it comes to road traffic accidents that are fatal. And truth be told, accidents in Zambia do claim more people than COVID-19 pandemic than any other disease, but the attention that we give to such issues remains something that we need to think about as a country. Miriam Kemba.
Exactly. Anyway, this is where we call it a day, and we would have loved to continue our conversation this morning, but we will extend our invitation so that a lot of people can appreciate and just understand about the need to improve our road safety in the country. But anyway, for me, Miriam Kaimba and Patrick Soko, please do make time to join us tomorrow as we bring you another exciting topic. For now, it's bye-bye. Stay blessed.